you want to come and drive a Routemaster bus with me, Pete, and his bus? Well, if you do, then all you need to do is order a single piece of merchandise or more off of my website, and that automatically enters you into the raffle, and the prize is to come and drive a Routemaster bus. Do so before the 31st of September 2024 and you'll automatically be entered. Good luck, guys!
Let's have a go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pete and his bus. Now, some of you might have wondered why there wasn't an introductory vehicle to this video. Well, that's because I haven't built it yet. Here we go. This episode of Pete and his bus is sponsored by none other than Crazybird. Here we go again. Not the most exciting colour in the world, but there is something special about this bike. Yeah, super light. So for the first time, it's not called a tools kit with an S, it's called an accessory box. Oh, they are learning. And this already looks promising. Thus far, Crazybird are the first e-bike company that I have dealt with where the toolkit actually works. Look, they gave me a real spanner. The only thing that does worry me is that the pedals are looking very plasticky again. On top of that, I had to modify the grip to fit the e-throttle, which was a bit of a shame, and the instruction manual was for the wrong bike. Other than all of that, she came together quite nicely. Ooh. And now for the defining feature of this e-bike. That's right, the Crazybird CU7 folds in two. I am very fortunate to have a massive barn where I can plonk all my toys, but I'm fully aware that these days space like this is not very common, and this is where the entry-level CU7 Crazybird comes into its own. The fact that you can fold it in half makes it so insanely handy and practical. I have actually found myself using it all the time. It's been on 3 different bus events with me. I've taken it into central London on the train, and it fits into the boot of most cars. So what's the catch? Well, apart from the fact that it doesn't quite feel as solid as a standard e-bike, it pretty much performs the same. It comes with a 250-watt motor, has disc brakes all around, and has the standard Shimano 7-speed gear change. This bike is also generally light enough to use as a normal bike without electronic assistance, so should that battery run out, you can keep going. So in the past, if I'd have gone shopping for one of these, I would never have picked a folding bike. But now that I've tried one, it'd be very hard to live with one that doesn't. There you go, guys. That is the Crazybird CU7. When I first got on it, I wasn't all that convinced. I thought it felt a bit flimsy, but then the practicality factor hit home, and it's absolutely superb. Also, compared to the last bike that I tried, this one is £600 cheaper. That is a significant difference. So make sure you check it out. You can see it on www.crazybirdbike.co.uk, and if you want any more information on it, check out the link and a discount code in the description of this video. Right, what have I been up to for the last month? I'll tell you. There have been many events, the first one involving pretty ladies standing around RML 2355 in central London. The next one meant serving drinks on behalf of one of my followers, and then it was off to Gillingham for a party in the dockyards. I obviously went to RM70 and saw lots of cool buses like this one. Oh, by the way, that's the first one ever made. But a bus I was really keen to see was this one, which had featured on the channel before. It was sold by me, and the owner has done some lovely work. (2543) is ready for her new life. It was then time to travel to a castle called Leeds, even though it's nowhere near Leeds. But on the way there, I heard this. The front offside tyre on 2355 fully exploded whilst I was on the move. The force of the incident actually took off part of the wheel arch. The bang was so loud my ears were still ringing half an hour later. And here's me thinking all my issues with this bus were finally behind me. So what do I do now? Well, I guess I better have some lunch. Luckily, SC tyres were on the case once again. They managed to find the correct tyre, fit it, and send me on my merry way within the space of 2.5 hours. That is pretty impressive if you ask me.
So we made it, and let me tell you, it was worth it. Check out the view.
So after all the drama that was the journey here, you'll be pleased to hear that the event itself was actually a total success. The week after it, it was time to travel to Stoner Park in the Chilterns to do the whole thing again. We then visited the QE2 Centre in London, and then I drove through one of the biggest downpours I've ever experienced. And all of this to park up in the XL for round 3 of the big London tattoo show. So now you see why it sometimes takes me a little while to put videos together for YouTube in this big, hectic bus life. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. And now for the big reveal. There is a new object in the barn and it is sizable. It's been very difficult to keep this from you guys because whenever I take pictures or video in the barn, I always have to make sure that I crop out the background, and a few times I've forgotten to do so. So some of you might already know what has happened. But for the rest of you, if you have watched episode 49, you'll have seen this.
Oh, hello, what is this?
Do me a favor, guys. Remember and register this moment. A security guard sent me down the wrong track and I ran into the night timber bus. Just remember it. It might be significant. Ta-da! So it turns out that it was significant because the night timber bus is now in the barn and it is here to stay. You guys must have 1,000 questions like, what does it do? Why is it here? And what is going on? Well, let me explain. But first, a little bit about Night Timber itself. Night Timber is an estate in West Sussex around the South Downs, and it has a very rich history. The first major moment in history for it was all the way back in 1086, nearly 1,000 years ago, where it is mentioned in the Doomsday Book, and the word Night Timber, spelt like this at that point, probably referred to a newly timbered house or perhaps a small timber plantation. Then the next major moment is 902 years later when the first vines are planted in 1988. And the third major moment is when a gentleman called Eric Herrimer came along and acquired the estate because he felt with the location in the South Downs and the soil being the way it is, it had fantastic potential to create an amazing British sparkling wine. Now, alongside the purchase of the estate, he also recruited a couple of key winemakers, and one of them was Sherry Spriggs. And together they have genuinely created a globally recognized high-quality sparkling wine. There is one key moment in 2018 when Sherry Spriggs was named Sparkling Winemaker of the Year at the International Wine Challenge in 2018. Now, to get this award is insane. It is really, really special. But there are two reasons why her win is even better than normal. And the first one is she's the only woman to have ever won it. Very cool. And secondly, she is the only person outside of the French Champagne region to have ever won this award. Now that tells you we're dealing with quite a special product, and actually quite a special company. So when this company decides to create an advertising vehicle to show off their beautifully British product, there was only one choice. It had to be a Routemaster. So which Routemaster did they pick? Well, the people responsible for the build of this particular bus were the bus business, and they happened to use RML 2757. This bus was new to Oldham in 1968 and it ran from Croydon all the way through to 1975, having two major overhauls in this period. From 1975 all the way through to 93 it ran from Hanwell and Hendon, and in 93 it was fitted with the good old Cummins C-Series engine. In 1994 all the way through to 2004 it ran for London United, and this is a good thing because they looked after their buses, and that's why it is in such a good mechanical state today. From 2004 to 2010 it had several private owners, and eventually it was bought by Papyrus Designs that used it for some promotional tours. And then came the bus business in 2014, bought it, converted it to turn it into the Night Timber bus. But there is one fact which really separates this bus from the others, and that is that this bus is the most replicated one out of all. And you might go, replicated? What do you mean? Well, it so happens to be that when Revell, the toy maker, created the Build Your Own London bus kit at 1:24 scale size, and you put it all together and you paint it all up, they happened to use RML 2757 as the model. So I am willing to bet that there are lots of you watching right now that have a model of this very bus in your own home. And that is pretty cool. So enough chat and enough history, let's actually have a look at this thing that is now in my care. I present to you the Night Timber bus. You are looking at RML 2757. This Routemaster was fully custom built in around 2014 to display and promote the finest British sparkling wine called Night Timber. The downstairs is a luxuriously appointed bar where every surface is leather, wood or copper. And then there is the roof. This is lifted hydraulically up into the air to create a wonderfully bright and spacious seating area upstairs where a glass or two can be enjoyed. Night Timber have been using 2757 for the last 10 years at events around the country, and therefore everything can be neatly folded away into this big bus-shaped box and taken on the road. As you can imagine, she is in perfect working order and fully road legal. So why has she ended up in my barn? Well, it took a minute to put together, but I have done a deal with Night Timber themselves to operate 2757 for their events on their behalf. I will also be in charge of the maintenance of the vehicle, the storage of it, and their plans to make some changes and some upgrades. And the best bit of all of this is, because I'm Pete in his bus, all of you guys get to come along for the ride. So the
first job on the Night Timber bus is not to go drive it for a laugh and give lovely sparkling wine to people. It is actually to do a mechanical appraisal of it to see what state of health she is in. And therefore, I've invited a man. And he is Lord Barrington himself.
Lord Barrington has entered the building. To do a full inspection on a Routemaster bus is quite a task. There are many independent systems and lots of different fluid levels that need to be checked. Now, because RML 2757 is new to me, it's important for me to be fully up to speed with her condition, so necessary work can be carried out if needed.
Lord Barrington himself underneath the bus. For a change.
But it is always a bit of a nervous moment though, because Lord Barrington happens to be brutal. It's either right or it isn't. He'll grade the bus from 1 to 10, 10 being perfection, which doesn't exist, and together we'll then write a full report of her health for the client. So let's find out how 2757 fared.
There is a bit of a problem though. To check the gearbox and its fluid level, you have to go through the gearbox trap, which is in the saloon downstairs. And of course, some numpty has built a bar on top of it. Hello. Question is, does it have any oil? Well, at least there's some.
Yeah, it looks like it's reasonable. It looks like the levels are reasonable, to be fair.
So after prodding around the Night Timber bus for an entire day, I am pleased to say that I now have the results.
So I hold in my hand a report that will decide the fate of RML 2757. She'll be fine, guys, don't worry. Now, obviously, I already know what this says because I wrote it myself together with Lord Barrington himself. But I'm going to take you through it really quickly. We've split it in 3 categories. We've got stuff for the future, not very urgent, stuff that's fairly urgent, and then stuff that is really urgent. And I'm going to start at the non-urgent end. Here we go. For the future, we have slight play in the offside kingpin. The B-frame rubbers need replacing and the tappets need adjustment. Now, the reason why we think tappets need adjusting is because the engine smokes like a trooper when under load. Remember, I have the same engine in my bus and it doesn't do that. So we reckon a tappet adjustment will fix that, but time will tell. Then, the fairly urgent-ish stuff. First of all, we have the rear brakes need adjusting. Guys, when I pull the handbrake, it is like up to my shoulder, so that definitely needs sorting out. We then have a power steering ram is leaking slightly, fairly common. Oily sweat across the engine, could be a gasket or something small. Front flexi pipe on the exhaust is broken. You saw I did the front flexi on my bus, and providing the actual exhaust is fine, that's a 15-minute job. Fuel pump is leaking slightly, gearbox is a little bit oily, near side shock is leaky, and the panhard rod crossmember is rotten and has an old and poor fiberglass repair. We don't do fiberglass repairs. Something is either rotten or it's not, so that will need replacing. Okay, and now for the really urgent stuff, we've got the rear B-frame brake pipe is corroded. You saw what happened when one of my brake pipes let go. I drove for 40 minutes without brakes in a 10-ton vehicle. This is not recommended and will need sorting out straight away. Then we've got the offside rear hub seal is leaking. Again, leaking, not good, needs to be sorted straight away. Bus needs a general grease up. Old vehicles like this have grease nipples all over them and you need to pump them full of grease on a regular basis to keep everything lubricated, and this has not been done for some time, so we need to get on that quick as well. And then the last one is a silly one. Lord Barrington noticed it right at the last minute. When we closed the engine bay, he felt a bit of resistance and he realised that the latch on the engine bay is catching the top hose on top of the radiator, and if it carries on like that, it'll puncture it, all the coolant will come out and will cook the engine. So to a non-car person, this report sounds completely and utterly disastrous. But actually, the score that Lord Barrington has given this bus, believe it or not, because I nearly fell off my chair when I heard it, is 8 out of 10. It's so good. 10 doesn't exist, right? 9 is like a unicorn which might exist. 8 is brilliant. So yes, there's a whole list of things, but they're actually all fairly minor, and the bus is generally in really good condition. So that's all we've got time for this time on Pete and his bus, guys. There's a few thank yous, obviously. First of all, I'd like to thank Lauren and Emily, who I've been working with that are part of Night Timber. They've been absolutely superb, and I'd like to thank them also for getting me involved into the position that I now am. So thank you, ladies. And then there is, of course, Lord Barrington himself. Thank you, mate. You did a great job. I'd like to thank my sponsor, which is Crazybird. And of course, as per usual, I'd like to thank all of you guys for coming to see me at all the events. I've seen loads of you this year. It's been absolutely amazing. And of course, for watching this channel. All you need to do is watch, guys, and that fixes everything. Anyway, thank you all so much, and I hope to see you next time on Pete and his bus. Cheers!